Hello, we are from International Scientific Research and Publications. In today's video, we will be discussing about the 7 research methods which will help you to do your research in the best way. So let's get into the video. Before getting into the video, let us know about what are research methods. Research methods are processes used to collect data. You can use this data to analyze current methods or procedures and to find additional information on a topic. Professionals use research methods while studying medicine, human behavior, and other scholarly topics. There are two main categories of research methods, which is qualitative research and quantitative research methods. Quantitative research methods involving using numbers to measure data. Researchers can use statistical analysis to find connections and meaning in the data. Qualitative research methods involve exploring information and non-numerical data. These research methods also examine how people might connect meaning to their experiences and emotions. Let us move on to what are the types of research methods. First thing, which is observation. Experiments record what they see participants doing or saying during observational studies. These type of studies might include role playing or watching the participants and waiting for a certain behavior to occur. For example, a researcher might set out of drinks on the table and tell participants they can have a drink once they finish a task. The researcher would then watch to see how many participants finish their task before they grab a drink. A modified form of observational study is the longitudinal observational study. Researchers track the same participants in the longitudinal observation studies for months or years and study multiple data points. This method is useful when researchers need a large pool of data to study or if the study is dependent on tracking information over time. Researchers might not want to use observational studies if they do not have a lot of time to invest in their study. And the second step, which is questionnaires and surveys. Questionnaires and surveys ask the same questions to a large group of individuals. These questions are typically used to measure quantitative data. Researchers translate the survey answers into numerical data so they can look for patterns. These questions could include something as simple as counting the number of employees at the company who prefer the color red to more complex data patterns, like studying the percentage of employees who prefer the color red and were also born in January. Questionnaires can be a good way to quickly secure a high number of participants. People who do not have time for longer interview sessions can easily take a questionnaire on a site or written it in a mail letter. However, mail-in surveys and questionnaires can have a low response rate, and participants might think or skip questions or answer them correctly or incorrectly. Researchers who elect to use this method should make considerations for potential gaps in the data due to human error in the survey completion. And the third method, which is interviews. Researchers have a written list of questions for subjects during interviews. Creating a very structured research setting, the researcher could also only have one question arranged, allowing the subject to speak and expand on the topic from there. You might hold interviews over a phone, via digital messaging, or in person. Analysts can use interviews during qualitative or quantitative research projects. During an interview, it is helpful to have two researchers. You might have one. Researchers take notes on a participant's responses while the other researchers watches the participants for nonverbal cues. If only one researcher is available, then getting permission to record the interview can be helpful. This ensures that the single researcher can watch the subject for nonverbal cues and is not hindered by exclusive note taking. A researcher might not want to use this method if they are working alone and cannot record the process. Let's move on to the next step, which is focus groups and case studies. In a focus group, researchers gather participants together and ask questions of a group. Researchers might observe a focus group and take notes on the session, or they can operate as the group facilitator. As with interviews, researchers can record focus groups for further review and analysis. In a case study, researchers study one central case of a person or a small group. Researchers might also make a case study of data from previous focus groups. Some researchers use the words focus group or case study interchangeably when studying a small group. Both focus groups and case studies are qualitative research methods, recording information rather than numerical data. And let's move on the next step, which is experiments. Experiments involve testing a theory in a lab environment in a controlled area or with willing study participants in different environments. You might ask participants to complete the test verbally, on paper, or on a computer. Some experiments could involve multiple simulations. For example, a researcher might give a cognitive test to a patient, but the actual test is evaluating how the participant or a patient performs when the room's temperature is colder or hotter than it was begin with. Experiments are usually quantitative studies recording numerical or statistical data. There are many methods of completing experiments, so these can be easy to administer to participants. Best practices for this method include having simple instructions and easy replicated experiments. Participants might need to complete tasks or tests on computers, so researchers should ensure test takers need no prior knowledge of computers to complete these type of tests. Let's move on to the next method, which is secondary data analysis. Secondary data analysis, which is also known as archival study, which is the studying and assessing research that already exists. If the archival works include letters, diaries or emails, this is a qualitative study. If the archival files or numerical data like accounting reports, that would be a quantitative study. This research method can be much more expedient than other research methods because it involves using research that already been completed. Researchers might want to use this method because it can be much more cost effective and you could find multiple sources for your analysis. However, you will want to ensure that the data is timely specific to your studies, needs and unbiased for it to be most useful. Let us move on to the next method, which is mixed method. Mixed methods can be a combination of multiple types of research methods. The researcher might combine observations with focus groups or interviews. The selected combination depends on what the researcher is studying and which research methods are best suited for their tasks. Best practices for utilizing mixed methods include picking two complementary research methods, such as starting with a focus group and then using the focus group data to develop and conduct an experiment. You might not want to use mixed methods if this approach could unnecessarily complicate the research. For example, if your mixed methods and surveys and secondary data analysis, these two methods could unnecessarily complicate the study if the sets of information are not relevant to one another. So, I think this video will be helpful to you. If you like my video, please subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon.